Hello everyone folks, and good morning. Okay, a quick little follow-up because I saw a comment pop up several times in regards to the Fusilier being a solid target for a Ogre Blade transformation. So, for those that are unfamiliar, basically when you're in the post game, one of the things that you can repeatedly do to any of your characters is to essentially give them infinite intelligence and mind, give or take, and also transfer the skills of, well, a large number of classes into that unit. So, for example, all warrior skill, it's basically anybody who can either transform or who can use a two-handed sword that can transfer their skills over to another unit. So for example, the warrior can do it, the Terenius can do it, the dragoon can do it, you have the angel knight and lich that are capable of doing it there, as well as I believe it's the hoplite and actually no, it might just be the juggernaut that can transfer their stuff over. So basically this means that any of their skills are potentially fair game. So if you wanted to give Lament of the Dead to basically anything, Vigorous Attack or Mighty Strike to basically anything, if you wanted to have, for example, Beast Slayer on a Fusilier, that was personally one of those ones that I kind of started touching on and it didn't end up going down that particular rabbit hole because, you know, fuzzy brain and whatever, but for example, you could very much just go and combine something like a Beast Slayer bonus, Beast Slayer and Dragon Slayer on a Fusilier to have a long range, essentially wall hacking dragoon, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of different ways they can potentially go about this. For example, giving something, instead of, let's say, the lobber in their case, since they're not exactly the best lobber user in the world here, you could potentially just swap out the lobber for something like a Lament of the Dead, giving them, for example, they've got their close range Fusil, they've got their close range Damas crossbow, looking for that wide finisher axis, but essentially through this, through this combination, something like a Lament of the Dead would allow them to be a very good kind of counter-firing unit here. Quick draw in their particular case isn't super amazing here, but, it might give them some potentially better options. This is all, again, just kind of niche use cases of just weirdly specific stuff you can get into here. But yeah, as far as the Fusilier, it does have a lot of kind of interesting use cases there for that kind of stuff. They do get access to all the daggers there. So, for example, if you wanted a Mighty Strike on a Dragon Fang with a Snub Fusil, the Snub Fusil does have a very particularly unique range in the form of being 1 to 4. Basically, the pistols are going to have uniquely limited range here. I actually saw one comment specifically saying that the rimfire was unique, but the Snub Fusil is basically the same thing, but way better. So, if you didn't know, yeah, Snub Fusil is a thing that exists. But anyways, they can basically combine a lot of very oddly specific bonuses with that same wall hacking thing from before. This is why, personally, I feel like they're a class that either wants to go for one of their really, really high attack value options like the long gun, and combine in something like Slayer skills or whatnot in there, or, for example, combine in those bonuses together with a cursed weapon. So like right here, I just made this thing as a bit of a joke, but this thing could just as easily have a bonus against anything. So, for example, if you wanted to have a Lizard bonus on there, but then at the same time you have them running Beast Slayer and Dragon Slayer, then, potentially that's an option right there. Essentially, there's a lot of different ways you can go about this. Just to point this out, in terms of their ranged options, the Cursed Fusil is definitely going to be one of their better options here because, well, it still has the same recovery time issue that many of their other weapons have. It's basically on par with the basic endgame handgun that they get here. However, it's got the its strength isn't too dissimilar, but while it does take 2 hands, it also has no weight, which means that recovery time, while it will be stacking up over time, is also generally taken off at the same time, so it can effectively be seen, since most of these are going to have a weight of like 10 to 13 here. For the sake of comparison, we'll go ahead and just average that out and say that they've got a weight of 12. So functionally speaking, the recovery time on this thing can be seen as being 29, even though it's technically 41. At the same time, with those bonuses, again, cursed weapons can have pretty stupid bonuses against anything. So if you wanted to match up a Slayer bonus together with something like a cursed weapon bonus, potentially that's just gonna kind of skyrocket to one-shot levels pretty much immediately specifically on many things. I say many things, again, oddly, there's going to be a lot of oddly specific things. I know personally, if I was looking to do a Fusilier only run, which I might do down the line, it was definitely one of the more interesting challenges for Tactics Ogre PSP. I know personally I would just keep an entire arsenal of cursed handguns for all kinds of different situations, because this is its lowest possible value. The highest values for a character that's got really, really high stats are going to be way, way, way higher than this thing right here. This is, again, it's kind of like minimum situation, and the same thing applies to many of these relics. Again, these bonuses go up to about 40. The bonuses in this thing, I think, can go up to 30, 35, somewhere in that ballpark. But again, when it comes to numbers going wacky because they're using range damage, this means that they're using a whole lot of bonus damage in their attacks, which means that adding more to that bonus damage pile will matter more than adding to their attack score in a minor way here, give or take. I'm sure there will be some exceptions, and, you know, there's always more stuff in the background, but either way, since they're already taking advantage of stuff like Breach, of stuff like Fear, or whatever else to deal a lot of their kind of normal damage there, this just allows them to spike even harder. Now granted, with this whole cursed weapon thing, this is something that again applies to something like archers as well. However, with archers, they are limited in terms of, being able to fire over something. In the case of something like Course Correction, this again is just straight up wall hacks, so this allows them to fire straight through things. So if for example, they want to hide on the other end of a wall, the only thing that they fear at that point is going to be casters. And as you may notice earlier on that list, I mentioned that the Lich is technically a thing that you can have. So, for example, if you were to take let's say a warrior unit, you give them the Ogre Blade, you have them use the Ring of the Dead to transform into a Lich, they will still be holding the Ogre Blade in their hand, and then you transfer those Lich's skills onto another unit, have them switch into a Fusilier, now you have a Fusilier that has reflection. So for example, they would be able to, like, let's say we replace this engulf over here with a reflection. We'll pretend resist petrifies there. It's a nice little placeholder. I mean, granted, we'll just put resist charm, because resist petrify at least has a use. Anyway, so, like, let's say we put that over there, we put, maybe we'll just give them their engulf back over here, so they can just kind of snipe with whatever you'd like at this point, right? So, you give them whatever bonus you'd like, and the only thing that they fear, because they're hiding off on the other end of anything, is going to be casters, and at that point you have them, for example, keep their reflection on at all times, and they are now just a solo operator hanging out on the sides, repeatedly sniping stuff, as you will, reflecting damage back whenever it's targeted at them. I mean, they have fairly low resistances, but all the same, it's not really anything you can't work around. Honestly, their lack of magic defense is so much less of a factor this time around, because magic is really hard to resist. It's fairly consistent anyway. So, realistically speaking, while one of the main downsides of the class traditionally was the fact that they got hit really hard by mages, they can potentially nullify that outright in many ways. But either way, the Ogre Blade is definitely one of those things that's going to give them a lot of very specific utility for kind of niche builds for the hell of it. Again, personally, the close-range handgun with Lament of the Dead is one of those ones that I think is a really fun idea, but you can at the same time give them, like, the charm dances off something like the Angel Knight there as well, in order to potentially have them, run up and dance and then suddenly pop something in the face with a preempt shot. It's got options. I mean, granted, those preempt shots are not exactly terribly useful because how many things are realistically shooting you at close range, but either way, it's a cool idea, It's a fun thing to play around. The thing about the post-game, many focus too hard on trying to min-max stats or whatever else. The big part of the end game is just the stupid builds you can get away with, so you might as well have some fun with it, But anyways, I just thought I'd go ahead and throw that out there. I mean, they'd be honestly, I think it would be way more useful in their case if they were able to transfer over Beast Tamer skills, because Repel is absolutely insanely powerful in the post-game. Just being able to outright avoid one of the strongest things that there is just, yeah. Repel Beast is pretty fucked powerful. Anyway, so yeah, that's about that. Do with that information what you will. If this was useful for you, have yourself a good one. If it wasn't useful for you, I'm sorry, but still have a good one. And if any of y'all want to do that whole subscribe-y, likey, chat about your random day type situation, would be appreciated. Obviously, all the things we cover on this channel are pretty niche, so the kind of windows of engagement for anything are absurdly limited, so we're basically going to be stuck in a little niche corner forever, but occasionally there's those little moments where more people show up, and it's fun. Actually, I should probably also mention one more thing about the Juggernaut. When you can actually go use something like the Juggernaut to go give them Intimidate, which could potentially allow them to be very handy. Like, say you set up a Divine Fusilier with a handgun, with a anti-undead bonus, and then you give them Intimidate through the Juggernaut there. You potentially have the ultimate Anti Dorgy griefing unit. But anyway, that'll be about that. Y'all have yourselves a good one, and take care.